You probably truly don't understand what money is, and I'm sure, like most people, you think that money and currency are the same thing. They are not. In this video, we're going over the definition of money, the difference between currency and money, why central banks try to convince you that currency is the same as money, and how they create that said currency, and why Bitcoin is actually money. You're watching Simulacra. I'm Bryson, so let's get into it. Don't confuse money and currency. Make an effort in your life, in your daily life, to appropriately use each whenever it's warranted. Words invoke action. And if we are constantly calling fiat currency money, then we won't really be aware consciously of the downsides of currency. And to understand that, we need to know the definition of money. And the definition of money really can just be broken down into a list. Medium of exchange, unit of account, portable, durable, divisible, fungible, and a store of value over long periods of time. The only characteristic you may not have heard of is fungible, which just means interchangeable. So $1 bill can be interchanged for another dollar bill and they are the same. One gold coin of the exact weight can be exchanged for another gold coin of that exact weight. But this is where the confusing part comes in. And it's that currency has the same characteristics as money. The glaring difference being that money holds value over long periods of time. It's a store of value, where currency is not really a store of value. Currency is the medium that people use for everyday transactions, such as paper bills and digital balances. But it's not a store of value. And it's not a store of value because all fiat currencies lose value over time. And it doesn't take long at all. The US dollar has lost all of its purchasing power since the Central Federal Reserve was created in 1913. All of it. Completely gone. Because they've printed it away and increased the supply. And this is because currencies have central banks that create and issue more currency that they're able to dilute your purchasing power. So the more currency that is printed dilutes the current supply, and that drives down the value of the overall currency supply. It's really a sick, opacious way. It's actually not really opacious. It's actually pretty transparent. You can look on the Fed Reserve's website and they tell you what they're doing. So it's not really opacious. It's much more transparent than you would like to believe. You understand why central banks don't want you knowing the difference, as you can see, because they can print currency. They can't create more money. So the catch is central banks don't want you knowing the difference between money and currency. If you think that money is supposed to lose value, if you think that we're supposed to have inflation, oh, we're trying to hit a 2% inflation, why does there have to be inflation? The fact that they're telling you there's going to be inflation, that's the trick. They're making you think that money is supposed to lose value over time, and it's not. If you think there's supposed to be inflation, if you think money's supposed to lose value over time, then the banks won, the central banks won the game. They control everything. And then you understand that none of it is real. Now we're going to get into the main crux. How do central banks create currency and trick you into thinking that currency is money? We're going to watch a short clip from legendary series on YouTube, Hidden Secrets of Money by the one and only Mike Maloney. And it's on the IOU machine, how central banks, the Federal Reserve, really create money and where most of the printed money comes from, which is fractional reserve lending.
Requirements are zero. The result is that the expansion of the currency supply by the banks is far greater than even this example would lead you to believe. So once again, when currency is deposited in the banks get to lend it out, and then it gets redeposited and relent, redeposited and relent, redeposited and relent over and over again, creating bank credit all the way. This is where the vast majority of our currency supply comes from. In fact, 92 to 96% of all currency in existence is created not by the government, but here in the banking system. Now, massive amounts of currency spewing into society may at first sound like a fun idea. That is, until you remember one of the most important hidden secrets of money from episode 1, that the prices of everyday goods and services act as a sponge on an expanding currency supply. The more currency we have, the more prices rise. This is where inflation comes from. The true definition of inflation.
So this fractional reserve lending, essentially banks are taking your attention and energy and lending it out to others for profit. And this is how more currency is created. And then the prices of everyday goods have to increase to suck up this extra liquidity in the system. And so that gets us to Bitcoin. Why is Bitcoin actual money? Bitcoin has all the characteristics of money. It's a medium of exchange. It's a unit of account. It's portable, durable, divisible, fungible. You can interchange one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin, and it's the exact same Bitcoin. And store of value. It's so far had a store of value over a long period of time, but not a massive amount of period of time. And so that's the one thing to be seen if Bitcoin can hold its value against fiats as a money over time. We know that gold has kept its value for thousands and thousands of years. I think Bitcoin being perfect, damn near perfect digital gold will keep its value for a extended period of time until this current iteration of civilization messes something up. But when we talking about Bitcoin and we are categorizing it as money rather than a currency, we're categorizing gold as a money. We want to think about the characteristics of money. Characteristics of money being scarce. We want our money to be scarce. We don't want people to just be able to create more US dollars whenever they want. Sound money cannot be easy to create. And more Bitcoin cannot be created. That's the cool thing. Gold became money because it was hard to mine and hard to fake, right? Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million coins, and new Bitcoins are only issued on a predictable schedule through mining and hashing, hash rates, the difficulty adjustment, all the things that come in with mining Bitcoin. But there's no central bank can vote. There's no central bank that can vote to print more Bitcoin. There's 21 million, and they are released on a schedule, and we know when the last one will be mined. And so that matters because when money is very easy to create, when it's easy to generate, the existing holders get diluted more. And that's what's happening to your fiat currency right now that's sitting in your bank. Bitcoin's supply is transparent and mathematically linked. You can look it up on the blockchain. You can't look up how much JP Morgan or Bank of America is fractionally reserve lending out your hard-earned income through your attention and energy and your creativity. So second, Bitcoin is extremely durable. It being digital makes it pretty durable, but money should not rot, decay, or disappear easily. And all of those things can happen with fiat. If you put $100 under your mattress in 10 years, there's not going to be anything there. It's going to be dust. If you have $100 in your bank account, it can disappear tomorrow, and you really will have no recourse for getting your money back. Physical goods like food and oil and livestock, they have been traditionally useful to humans, but they're a bad long-term money because they degrade or they're very hard to store. It's very expensive to take care of a herd of cows or to even store massive amounts of grain. Bitcoin exists as a distributed ledger that is spread across thousands and thousands of nodes globally. And so, as long as the network survives and you have your private key, then your Bitcoin can survive across borders, across governments, across time. It's a very durable asset. And as we're seeing right now, Jack Dorsey is doing with Square, well, Cash App, you can send Bitcoin to people without using the internet through Bluetooth waves. And so Bitcoin is going to be a very durable asset, a very durable money for the foreseeable future. It's extremely portable also. So money should be easy to move. And the thing about gold is that it's very scarce and it's almost perfect money. And it's been very, very good for humans up until this point. I do think people should still hold physical gold. I'm not a completely Bitcoin maxi in favor of not having gold. They're kind of two different things. And I think they satisfy both the physical and the digital realm. And so if you are accumulating both, then I think you are doing pretty A-okay. So gold is scarce, but moving large amounts of it, this is the physical part that is the problem. Moving large amounts of gold is slow, it's expensive, it's risky, it requires a lot of security. And Bitcoin can pretty much globally move millions and billions of dollars worth of it in minutes. And with Lightning payments, we can move smaller amounts of Bitcoin almost instantaneously. You can carry millions of dollars of Bitcoin in your digital wallet. All you need is a seed phrase, a hardware wallet, a multi-sig setup. Very secure. It's more secure than carrying around gold. You know, if I'm trying to transport $100 million of gold from one kingdom to the other, I'm going to need a very, very large militia in transport in case I am attacked. In Bitcoin, I can memorize my seed phrase. You don't even have to write it down. And no one will be able to intercept my Bitcoin in transit. The cool thing about Bitcoin also is that it's very divisible in that it can be divided into 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. So money needs to work for both small and large payments, right? Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. So that means even if one Bitcoin becomes extremely, extremely valuable in the future, people can still transact in the tiny amounts. And that's what many people in the Bitcoin community think what's going to happen anyways, is that we're going to reach a point where one Satoshi will equal one penny. But that happens when Bitcoin sucks up the entire global economy, which I can talk about in another video, how Bitcoin has really been perfectly engineered to handle the entire value of the global economy at least 4 times over. So the next thing we get to is verifiability, and a sound money needs to be hard to counterfeit and very easy to verify. A Bitcoin node can be independently verified with the entire supply, every valid transaction, and whether a coin is real or not across that distributed ledger of thousands of nodes. And we can use one node to verify that Bitcoin that you are receiving is what you are receiving. Gold is very hard to fake, but verifying it requires tools and expertise. Dollars are mad easy to fake, especially digitally, unless you only rely on banks. And so Bitcoin is digitally native and it's cryptographically verifiable. And that's the great thing about it. And that cryptography is what moves us into the next aspect of a very sound money, is that it needs to be censorship resistant. Right now, modern fiat works well until a bank freezes your account or until you say something that the government doesn't like and your money is taken away. Modern fiat works well until a bank freezes your account or the government really doesn't like what you have to say. And then your currency is gone, essentially. Bitcoin really just gives people an alternative monetary rail that is not controlled by a central authority, a central institution. And that doesn't mean Bitcoin is not perfect. Bitcoin is very volatile. It's still very young. It's not universally accepted. I want to say still 95% of the population has not adopted Bitcoin, but its monetary properties are extremely sound in a world where central banks have all of the power to create currency. And so that's really the difference between money and currency and why Bitcoin is money. So I hope you liked today's video. You've been watching another video from Simulacra. Remember to like and subscribe, send to your friends, family. Keep stacking your sats and buy more Bitcoin. Same thing, but I'm out. See you, everyone.